Here we have our control panel. Here's our go button, which once that's alight, we're all ready to go. Here's our safety brake, which is the fastest braking system. This here is your gripper brake, which grips onto the track. Up here you got your car speed, and over here is your air pressure, which works the doors.
These people are following in the footsteps of over 100 million people since the cable car first opened in 1902. At the top of the cable car is the suburb of Kelburn, known for its large villa houses clustered along Upland Road and perched on the hillsides. But when the cable car first made its way up the track, it was to windswept, hilly farmland. Down below in the city, people were complaining about how crowded and unsanitary living conditions had become. It was time for land developers to make a push for the surrounding hillsides. But with no easy access, it was going to be a challenge. They quickly realized that if they could build a cable car, the city could be connected to the hills of Upland Farm in just a few minutes. But there were major engineering challenges to be overcome. There were hills in the way, and the overall gradient of 1 and 5 was going to be steep. With picks, shovels and explosives, 3 tunnels were hewn out of hard rock, and the spoil carted away by horses was used to reclaim the harbour. These are the same tunnels that we travel through today. High viaducts were built to span the gullies. These viaducts now travel over some of Wellington's steepest and narrowest roads. Finally, everything was ready, and over 4,000 people rode the cars that first weekend. Soon, the people getting off at the top were able to enjoy a cup of tea at the newly opened Kelburn kiosk, while contemplating their descent back into the city. And after admiring the view, said to be the best in the whole colony, the travellers could inspect the sections for sale before wandering back down through the botanical gardens. Within 2 years, the cable car had become so popular that trailers were added, so more people could be carried, up to 80 at a time, if you counted standing room. These trailers had started their life as horse-drawn trams. By now, the suburb of Kelburn was growing. The university had been built, and students soon preferred the cable car to slogging up the hill. It had become Kelburn's best commuter service. Only 3.5 minutes to reach the centre of town, and a service that ran every 10 minutes. The driver, or gripman, working from the centre of each car, controlled the brakes and the gripping mechanism by heaving on large levers. They signalled to each other to start their journey by ringing a bell. And the engineer, down in the winding house, would start up the large winding wheels. The cars would set off, one from the top and one from the bottom. If you heard the bell ringing, you could run and jump on, even as it moved off. You could also step off the cable car as it reached the top. No need to wait for it to stop. The best seats were those on the outside. They were stepped, so you didn't feel like you were sliding off as the cable car rode the hill. And how exciting it was to feel the wind and see the parkway below, with nothing but your own good sense to stop you from falling off. There are many people who remember as children riding on the outside, craning their feet to touch the tunnel walls, and holding on to the thick leather straps so they wouldn't fall off. We had a different idea of safety then. It wasn't a culture of safety at all cost. In those early days, people had to be convinced that the braking system was safe. It was. But the day came when the old cable car was declared unsafe for quite a different reason. The stop at Clifton Terrace is where the new motorway was thrusting its way across the cable car track. A construction worker didn't look where he was going and got collected by an oncoming car. He was seriously injured. It was a death blow to the old cable car. The trailers were ordered to be taken off, and the grip cars were strengthened and fitted with extra brakes. But that was not enough, and these little red rattlers, which had worked the track for 76 years, were given a lifespan of only a few more years. For many months, people argued whether or not to replace them. In 1978, the old cable cars made their final run. That last ride was a sad one for the thousands of people who turned out, and students pelted with eggs and flower bombs the officials who took the last ride of the evening before closing it down. The cable cars were taken away, the tracks pulled up, and work started on installing a new fully automatic system. A year later, the new cable car was ready. The mayor had decided that while he much preferred the romance of the old cable car, the new one should at least be reminiscent of the old one. And so it was. The new Swiss model was painted the familiar red, and the seats were built in wood. In 1979, the new cable car was put on the track, and both the people of Wellington and tourists flocked to try it out. However, these were modern times, and passengers were now safely enclosed behind doors. It's a much easier job for the drivers too. Those heavy grip levers have been replaced by buttons. Instead of two tracks, both cars now share the same track, which only splits into two so they can pass each other. And instead of the cars gripping and releasing a continuously moving cable, the new cars are permanently fixed to the cable.
There's Wellington Cable Car's current winding room, a bit different to the one that James Fulton built originally. Whenever the car stops, this brake here comes on. It's onto drums that are attached to the motor. These valves are run off 24-volt battery system, so in a power out condition, they bring the brakes here on gradually, so it just comes to a normal stop. Great big brake, that's our safety brake. It comes on in emergencies, and after 20 minutes of inaction, it'll come on automatically.
Every year, the cable car is weighted to its maximum with concrete blocks and is sent down the track to check the brakes. The main haulage cable is regularly inspected for wear and is replaced every 18 years. What started out as a way to ensure the development of Kelburn has now become recognised as a symbol of Wellington. Let's climb aboard and see what the night has to offer.